let's get right into this review for Wuthering Heights. Alright, so Wuthering Heights is directed by Emerald Fennell. The film here is based on a famous Gothic literature published in 1847, written by Emily Bronte. We have Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie starring as the main leads here, and this film seemingly turned out to be one of the most anticipated romance films to start off this year. Now that I've seen the film, what did I think about the cinematic package here? I thought this was just an alright time. To start with the positives, the visuals were great. The set locations, the costume designs, and everything in between worked in favor of this gothic tale, and I was thoroughly immersed into this world, which did a great job in imbuing and embracing the grittier tones of the explored romance. I also thought the casting did a great job. Margot Robbie is excellent here, and I think Jacob Elordi will have a lot of fans with his portrayal of Heathcliff. You also have great side performances coming from Hong Chow, Alison Oliver, and everyone else with their respective characters. So kudos to the entire cast involved. Also, I thought the first half of this film was excellent. The build-up was solid in its pacing, and the steady brewing of the romantic tragedy kept me continually interested to see what would happen next. Now, the biggest problem for me with this film is how lost in the sauce the story gets in the latter half of this cinematic package. The pacing becomes uneven and slow. The characters' antics in their competition to still get on top of each other, both mentally and physically, just becomes too much in a negative light. It's chaotic, exhaustive, and really C-tier in its core execution. Sure, it might be a guilty pleasure to some viewers out there, but it really doesn't become anything smarter or more than that. Also, the story remains pretty bare bones, with frustrating segments dragging on far longer than it needed to in the majority of Act 3. All the while, after witnessing these various C-tier segments near the ending and finally reaching the conclusion, I just couldn't find myself to be on the same emotional wavelength with what the characters were going through. This film rarely has the intense emotional beats as I felt in another recent romantic tragedy called Hamlet. My final score for Wuthering Heights ends up being 7 out of 10. This was still a solid one-time watch experience for me. I think many general audience members will still find enjoyment with this film if the trailers sold you to buy your tickets in advance. This isn't a perfect story, there's messy and chaotic elements involved, and the story does heavily lean towards guilty pleasure romance rather than a well-rounded, cohesive drama from beginning to end. Anyway, since we're checking this review out, I'll have one more coming out this week, so stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I shall see you on my next upload. Until then, stay safe out there and peace.